Well, this looks like it's going to be one heck of a project. This is an American 25A excavator, or they call it a power hoe, is what they call it. This is the plate, if you guys can kind of make that out, but it says 25A, but I'm assuming 25 stands for tonnage. It supposedly weighs about 30 tons. This one was owned by the Amish before me. I bought it on an auction, and the deal was right. It is a little bit loose in the end by the bucket, but I guess for what we're gonna do with it, it ain't gonna matter too much. But it has been gotten a new undercarriage under it. Looks like it got new rail and pads. But the reason we're sitting here beside the shop, we have a few main points to cross over. Here's one. The buckets hint to a number 2. And number 3 has to do with these babies. One side doesn't really drive the best, so we're assuming it's either a track motor or a pump. So although she ain't a brand new machine, she still did do some work before all these problems are getting taken care of. We did tear down a granary with it, but it just seems that was kind of the test for it, make sure it was reliable enough to do that, and it did it, but now it's time to give her a little bit of love. She ain't brand new by any means. It was made sometime in the 80s, I'm assuming. Information is very vague on these. And this one's just been, I don't know what it's all seen in its life. I know the Amish put a new motor in it, and they changed the voltage system from 24 volts to 12 volts. So there's not much I can go off of. But there is a few things that just leak and need attention. So the leak you guys seen down below is actually coming from the swing gearbox. As you can see, it's a different color, so I assume it's been redone or had some attention at some point. Not really sure what the attention was, but the seal on the bottom is leaking. It's just not very handy because it leaks pretty quick the way it seems. I put some in there and yeah, it leaks out fast. And then there's another leak. This is where the hydraulics go through for your track motors. That leaks when it's turned, when the excavator is turned the opposite way it is right now. Otherwise, it's always not leaking in this direction. So even though there's a bunch of negatives, there is a few positives. This machine was very much ahead of its time. A few of the specs are these joysticks are hydraulic over hydraulic. Another one is it's got a 2-speed, so that's pretty handy. But anyways, that means we just gotta get right into fixing it up. It's gonna take some time. It ain't gonna happen overnight. I'm just gonna kind of work on it when I get a chance here and there, but it'll be nice once it's done. It's just gonna get into that point. Jumping through all the hurdles. I'm just not looking forward to some of them, but some of them shouldn't be pretty fun to fix up. But stay tuned and we'll see what we can't get accomplished. Well, we're gonna try and start with number 1 on the list here. This is the bearing I pulled out, and you can see it's all nice and shined up. And it's shined up on the inside. Nice Timken bearing, so I mean, if we're worried about getting one of those, it ain't gonna be too hard. And then here's the cover. Doesn't look too bad, a little wear. And then here's the fancy seal I've never seen. Well, I've seen similar, but nothing like this one. This one comes apart, so I don't know if that's good or not. But the main problem here is there was 2 shims on the back. So the only piece that was left of the shim was wedged in this curved part, and the rest, as you can tell, was worn off. So that's probably where my burnt smell came from. And so what I got here is some shim material. I'm gonna try and make new shims. It's anywhere from 5 to 10 thousandths. It could be 1 or 2 shims, but that's kind of the spec they give you. And then you're supposed to take a feeler gauge. You're supposed to go in between the cover here and the frame, and that's supposed to set your preload. But they really don't specify what kind of preload spacing I'm looking for. If I'm looking for the 5 to 10 area too, it's just very vague in the manual. So since I don't have much information on these shims, why not go to the other side? Let's maybe see if they have a shim or two they could borrow me for dimensions and whatnot. So, first thoughts, we got oil, which is awesome plus. Second thoughts, like nowhere. Beautiful. Third thought, there's no shim. Huh. What a... Huh. But I really do like this. So we're gonna clean. There might be a hair of wear, but oh, that's beautiful. That's a lot better. We're gonna get this all cleaned up and we'll get it all, this one will go back together fairly easily. Just because of, it actually came apart a lot easier than the other one did too. This one, I started the bolt and it started moving right away. So either I got this idea down pat or oil goes a long ways. But yeah, even this sidewall looks better than the other one. Yeah. Other one had a shim, this one doesn't have a shim. Weird. And there ain't no shim there. Okay, well, back to the drawing board, I guess, for the shim idea. We ain't getting it from there. Well, I'll admit it's not the best circle I've drawn, but we'll give her a shot. Here's the other housing, all cleaned up nice and pretty. Not looking too bad on the rays. Should get a light, but there's a little bit of wear down here, so it looks like it was running a little loose. May or may not have been putting a little extra wear in a spot, but yeah, we're gonna try and get this shim cut out, and then we'll put it on this one just since this one's the tighter side, and we'll see what this all entails and see if it's worth making a second one or not, and hopefully get it thrown back all together and throw some oil in it and see how these seals work. We'll get her cut out here. Can barely even tell. Shim came out pretty nice. I can't complain. Especially with the tools I had. I could probably smooth out the inside. It cut kind of rough on the middle there, but I'd say it's a pretty good example. It had to be small enough to fit through the seal, because it's got to stay on the shaft. So we'll throw this all together, throw a little oil on this bearing, and see what we can't figure out here, if we're doing this right or not. Upon further investigation, we can fit it in there. This is 8, by the way, and we can fit it in down there. A little looser down there, but it's pretty tight. Now it probably would help if I cleaned around a little bit better, but I can't get it in here. So it's just kind of hard to keep this whole thing straight and whatnot and going in straight. So I'm gonna call that good. I'm assuming it's gonna be between 5 and 10. This was an 8. So I'd say we're pretty close to that 5 range. And they really don't give you a range where you should be either. They just say the inside shim should be between 5 and 10, and I went to 10 right away, assuming wear and whatnot and whatever. But 10 seems to be doing good. I'm at my max. We're gonna call this good. I'm gonna pull it all back apart, take that shim and make another shim, clean this again, make sure it's really clean, and we'll finally do a final assembly. Then we can add some oil. So we'll catch you guys back then. Well, we got the new shim, or second shim I should say, made. This is all back together. We'll get this thrown back on and hopefully check it off the list. And just like that, we hope the side is done for and we don't have to look at it again. But I guess if we have to, we know how to take it apart pretty quick. Now, on to the next. Now, you're all gonna call me crazy, but I'm gonna weld it. I'm just gonna weld it and then weld it in a couple spots and then just kind of grind it down and try and get it back into spec. Now, my reasoning behind this is a shim. This is too much wear to pile shims up on that they're just gonna spin, and it just does not seem feasible to work that way. So now we're gonna, I don't know if I'll get it done before the end of this video or when this video is out, but this will have to get rolled, so I'll have to move the excavator in order to get the bottom, because I am not welding upside down and getting a good outcome. But we'll see kind of how this all goes out. I'm not really sure. It doesn't Ain't gonna like it's gonna put thousands of miles on spinning. It's only maybe putting a couple hundred on. That's kind of where I'm at here, guys, with this excavator. It's not a quick project, but it is definitely something to check off the list. But moving on, we will have a couple more, hopefully more exciting videos coming up than this one. Maintenance isn't always the funnest in the world, but hey, it's got to be done. So thanks for sticking with me this long, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.